Welcome to my channel. For more videos, please remember to like and subscribe. The orphaned alien girl suffered from hunger until a human man adopted her. The moons of Vokar, you screamed, but they sure echoed when your stomach growled. Nyra pressed her back to a rusted cargo container and tried to pretend that sound hadn't come from her. She peeked over the edge. Nothing moved in the dust-blown yard but a malfunctioning loader bot repeatedly trying to carry a piece of its own arm like a prize-winning fish. She slipped out from cover, her bare feet making soft crunches on the frost-dusted gravel. Her fingers, cracked and gray with cold, darted into the open hatch of an abandoned supply trailer. Inside, there were wrappers, crinkled, empty, mocking wrappers. Nyra snarled under her breath and punched a crate. The crate made a dull thunk and then, to her surprise, flipped open. A single nutrient bar sat inside, pristine, silver-wrapped, practically glowing like a holy relic. She snatched it like someone might dive through a dimensional rift and claim it first. Her ears perked with anticipation as she unwrapped it. The smell hit her, definitely synthetic, and probably made from something technically still alive when harvested. She didn't care. The first bite was heaven. The second, "What in the name of Neptune's left nostril are you doing in my crate?" she spun. Standing at the hatch was a tall human man in a dusty jacket and boots that looked older than most of the moons in the sector. He had a stubbly jaw, a lopsided grin, and a handheld scanner that was pointed nowhere near her but beeped as if it knew secrets. Nyra froze, mouth full. She glanced at the exit. "Don't bolt," the man said, raising his hands. "I'm not going to vaporize you for eating space granola, though technically you are breaking about 17 laws right now. 18 if you count theft of dignity because you got crumbs all over my emergency stash." She chewed slowly, watching him. "You speak standard?" he asked. She swallowed. "Mostly, sometimes." He nodded like this was a normal exchange. "Good. What's your name?" She hesitated. "Nyra?" "Nice to meet you, Nyra. I'm Marcus. Marcus Trellick, captain of the Dusty Parrot. Don't laugh. I wasn't going to. You were definitely about to." She licked her lips. "Maybe a little." He stepped inside and knelt down near the crate. "So you alone?" She nodded. "Since always, I think." "Well, that sucks," he said. "You're what, 12? 13? She shrugged. "You don't know?" "I stopped counting when I ran out of fingers, then I ran out of toes." He chuckled. "All right, fair enough. Look, this moon's not friendly. The security droids here shoot first, insult your haircut second. I've seen." He studied her for a long moment. "You hungry?" She raised the half-eaten bar. "I mean, more than that?" She nodded. "You allergic to protein paste?" "Depends. Is the paste allergic to me?" "Okay, good sense of humor. You'll survive longer than most." He stood and extended a hand. "You want to come with me? I've got a ship. It leaks air of the toilet, sings operatic hymns in the wrong language, but it's better than freezing here and chewing old wrappers." Nyra stared at his hand. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because I'm getting soft in my old age, or because I once tried to adopt a parrot and it bit me, and I see this as emotional compensation. Either way, you in?" She took his hand. The ship was worse than advertised. The Dusty Parrot looked like it had once lost a fight with a comet, and then had parts replaced by someone who'd only seen ships in cartoons. The ramp squealed as it descended, and a gust of recycled air hit her face, tinged with motor oil and something that smelled like spicy socks. "Home sweet home," Marcus announced. Inside, wires dangled from the ceiling like metallic vines. A coffee mug floated gently past, untethered in the flickering gravity field. "Still tuning that?" Marcus muttered, grabbing the mug and stuffing it into a netted wall pouch. "Come on, I'll show." "That's where the food is. Also where I make a mess. Naming conventions are important." The mess hall was a compact space with 2 chairs, a dented counter, and a screen that kept flashing error spaghetti. "Ignore that, it thinks it's an Italian restaurant." Nyra blinked. "What's Italian?" "A type of human from old Earth, obsessed with noodles and yelling. Wonderful people." He opened a cabinet and pulled out 2 steaming pouches. "Here, this one's chicken-flavored. This one says surprise, but the surprise is always beans." Nyra took the chicken one. She tore it open and drank like she'd never tasted heat before, which Marcus realized might be true. "So," he said between bites, "you got any family?" She shook her head. "Any species name I should be aware of? You're not human, are you?" "No, I'm..." She paused. "I don't remember the name. I just remember we had long ears, like this. She pulled her hair back. Marcus tilted his head. Fancy! Makes you look like royalty from a space opera. What's a space opera? It's like real life, but everyone sings and nobody ever eats quietly. After the meal, Marcus gave her a corner of the ship to sleep in. He handed her a blanket that had more patches than original fabric and a pillow that made metallic clinks when you pressed it. It's stuffed with spare bolts, he admitted. I thought it'd be funny. Jury's still out. That night, Nyra lay in her corner, wrapped in the warmth of something she hadn't felt in years, safety, or something pretending to be safety. She stared at the ceiling where tiny stars had been painted by an uncertain hand. Marcus's snoring drifted in through the thin wall. She smiled. In the corner, a screen flickered to life. No one had touched it. Static danced across the glass, and then a symbol appeared, a spiral made of light and flame. Nyra didn't notice. She was already asleep. But the ship noticed. Somewhere in its circuits, an old relay hummed, and a voice deep within the system whispered, "Starborn located. Sequence initiated." Then the screen went dark. Marcus stood over the open engine panel with a wrench in one hand and a sandwich in the other, trying to figure out which one was more likely to fix the power conduit. He took a bite of the sandwich and immediately regretted it. "Why does everything taste like warm regret lately?" he muttered. Behind him, a low hum rose and fell. Nyra hovered 3 centimeters off the deck, legs crossed, eyes closed, and completely ignoring gravity. Again. "Nyra," Marcus said, chewing slowly, "you're doing the floaty thing." "I'm not doing it on purpose," she said without opening her eyes. "It just happens when I think too hard." "Well, maybe stop thinking so hard. You're making me jealous. I had to pay 15 credits to feel that light on my feet. It was a jetpack massage. Don't ask." Nyra drifted downward and landed with a soft thump, blinking. "I keep feeling pulses, like echoes, but inside my brain. That sounds bad, or mystical, or like you need better sleep. You did take the sleeping pill I left you, right?" "I fed it to the cleaning droid," Marcus sighed. "That explains why it was reciting poetry to the toaster." The ship jolted as they dropped out of warp above Quarn Station 9, a low-orbit depot shaped like a collapsed slinky and known for selling just about anything that wasn't nailed down, and most things that were. Marcus angled the ship toward Docking Arm C, ignoring the blinking comm alert from station traffic control. "They hate it when you don't answer," Nyra said, watching the warning light blink red. "They hate a lot of things. Like freelance traders, or anyone who doesn't fill out Form F9203 Theta in triplicate. The key is to look confident and pretend your transponder isn't held together with copper wire and chewing gum." The docking clamps locked with a groan, and the airlock hissed open. Marcus led the way, casually shoving a small packet of coupons into the station guard's hand with a wink. The guard scowled, read one of them, and muttered, "2-for-1 slush at Gorgo's Noodle Pit?" "You're welcome," Marcus called over his shoulder. They walked into the market ring, a labyrinth of blinking signs, aggressive vendors, and suspiciously sparkly fruit. Nyra stuck close, eyes darting everywhere. Marcus bought a bag of glowberries and handed her one. "Don't eat the seed. It grows a tiny cactus in your stomach." She froze. "Kidding. Probably." She bit into it. "This tastes like lightning. Then it's ripe." They reached the electronics bazaar where Marcus's favorite fence, a 4-armed Glithorian named Sprek, waited behind a booth labeled Authentic Hypertech, definitely not stolen. Sprek grinned when he saw them. "Marcus, my dusty friend, you look like a man who's finally been caught in a love triangle with a fusion coil and poor decisions. Clothes, I need a nav. The old one thinks we're always in the Bermuda Nebula. That place doesn't exist." "Exactly." While they haggled, Nyra wandered to a table of scrap tech. A tiny cube blinked at her. When she touched it, a projection flickered up, a rotating spiral symbol, glowing softly. She frowned. "Marcus," he was mid-argument over the price of a faulty stabilizer. "Can it wait? I'm about to commit petty larceny with my words." She tugged his sleeve. "It's the same symbol I saw in my dream, and on that screen in the ship. Look." The projection spun and the center pulsed. Marcus leaned in. "Well, that's not ominous at all." Sprek glanced over and immediately slapped a towel over the cube. "Where did you touch that?" "Right here," Nyra said, pointing. Sprek hissed, "That's an Echo Archive key. No one's been able to activate one in decades." "What's it for?" Marcus asked. Ancient tech, real deep time stuff. I thought it was a paperweight. You say she lit it up? Nyra blinked. It was already blinking. I just touched it. Spreck stepped back. You might want to leave, right now, and not tell anyone, especially not the Order of the Prism. The what now? Marcus asked. They're like librarians if librarians carried plasma rifles and hated fun. Marcus grabbed the cube, shoved it into his coat, and muttered, Guess we're going. Back on the Dusty Parrot, Nyra sat in the co-pilot seat while Marcus fiddled with the cube. It pulsed again and projected a star map. Dozens of systems with one blinking in green. That's Draymore 9, Marcus whispered. That planet's a myth. Supposed to have a memory vault buried in the sand, like a library you need a shovel for. Then let's go, Nyra said. Kid, do you know how many ships have gone to that system and never come back? No, but if it's more than 5, you can stop now. He stared at her. You're serious? You said you were bored with trading expired jam and bootleg holo novels. I said I was underappreciated. Big difference. The cube beeped again. Then the lights dimmed, and the ship's AI voice chimed in, dry as ever. Navigation route plotted. May I recommend updating your will? Marcus groaned. All right, fine, but if we die, I'm blaming you. Nyra smiled. Deal. 2 jumps later, they were drifting toward the edge of known space, where stars grew sparse and silence filled the gaps between systems like cold syrup. Marcus chewed the last of his sandwich, still terrible, and muttered to himself, We're heading toward a planet that probably doesn't exist, with a cube that glows and a girl who levitates in her sleep. Yep, just another Tuesday. Nyra looked at the map again. Do you think there are others like me out there? I don't know, but I think we're about to find out. She glanced at him. What if I'm dangerous? He laughed. You already are. You ate the last of my glowberries and hijacked my ship's AI with your brain, but I'm still here. She looked at the stars. Then let's see where it goes. The ship cruised into the unknown, one faulty panel at a time. Behind them, deep in the circuitry of the Echo Key, a new program activated. Far across the stars, someone, or something, noticed. A beacon flashed in response, and the countdown began. The ship shuddered violently as it dropped out of warp. Alarms blared in 3 different keys, none of them pleasant. One screen read, Welcome to Draymore 9, while another said, Abandon all hope, which Marcus suspected was a software conflict, or possibly the ship trying to be dramatic. That felt like hitting a planet made of soup, Marcus grunted, gripping the controls as the Dusty Parrot wobbled. Nyra floated upside down in 0G, arms crossed, hair drifting like confused spaghetti. You said the landing would be smooth. I said relatively smooth. Compared to what? An asteroid crash? A romantic dinner with a vractoid? Context is everything. Outside, the planet below spun slowly. Red sands, massive craters, jagged black ridges like claws across the surface. The atmosphere shimmered oddly, refracting light in a way Marcus didn't trust. The ship's AI chimed in cheerfully. Atmosphere contains high levels of ionized silica, low oxygen, trace sarcasm. Sounds like my last job interview, Marcus muttered. They descended, landing with only 3 hydraulic groans, 2 error beeps, and 1 coffee cup that launched across the cockpit and shattered against the bulkhead. Success, Marcus declared. That sounded like the ship sneezed, Nyra said. Look, if it didn't explode, it's a win. They disembarked into a windless, dusty basin. The air was dry enough to make Marcus's teeth itch. Nyra held the Echo Key, which pulsed a soft blue every few seconds, guiding them forward like a polite but impatient ghost. Marcus adjusted the strap on his satchel. All right, if we get eaten by sandworms, I want it on record that I blamed you before we left. You're recording this? No, I'm just loudly documenting my future lawsuit. They trekked across the basin, boots crunching against crystal-coated sand. Strange shapes loomed in the distance, towers or spires or melted statues, half buried and leaning as if drunk. The Echo Key pulsed faster. Nyra tilted her head. Do you feel that? I feel my back cramping. No, it's like something's pulling me, like a memory I haven't had yet. Marcus eyed her sideways. You're starting to talk like a fortune cookie. She stepped forward, and the ground cracked beneath her. Marcus lunged, grabbed her wrist, and they both tumbled into darkness. After a long bouncing slide and several curse words in 2 languages, they landed in a chamber glowing with soft green light. Marcus groaned. Okay, that was the 2nd worst fall I've ever had. First was into a gambler's bathhouse on Cygnus 12. Very slippery, very illegal. Nyra stood slowly, brushing off dust. In front of them rose a console embedded in obsidian-like rock. It looked old, pre-everything old. Symbols ran across its face in spirals, and when Nyra approached, they lit up. Marcus whistled. Either this is magic, or we just found an ancient vending machine. Nyra placed the echo key in a central slot. It slid in like it belonged. The chamber hummed. The symbols flared with color. Then a voice echoed through the space. Alien, genderless, and far too calm. Identification confirmed. Starborn genetic imprint detected. Activating Memory Vault 7. Marcus held up his hands. I didn't touch anything, just for the record. Light flooded the walls. Holographic images danced. Planets, creatures, great starships wreathed in gold. A vision played. Tall beings with Nyra's ears, speaking in tones that sounded like music and math at once. A war, a retreat, a scattering. Children hidden in the stars. One of the figures looked directly at Nyra. You are the second flame, the voice intoned. The bridge, the return, the key. Nyra blinked. That's me? Marcus squinted. You sure it didn't mean me? I'm very bridge-like. The projection flickered. A map appeared showing multiple locations across the galaxy, each marked with a glowing spiral. More of these vaults? Marcus asked. Fragments, the voice answered. To awaken the chorus, all must be found. Nyra stepped back. So there are more like me. Hidden? Encoded, dreaming, waiting. The vault's light dimmed. The echo key popped out. Marcus caught it midair. Okay, well that wasn't terrifying at all. Galactic-level prophecy, ancient star people, and you're apparently the chosen musical math princess of the cosmos. Nyra sat on a stone. I was just trying not to starve last week. You've really upgraded. Suddenly, the chamber lights turned red. A loud clunk sounded above. Marcus pulled out his scanner, which promptly caught fire and died. The AI voice buzzed in his comm. Incoming ship detected. Not friendly. Very not friendly. Marcus tapped his ear. Define very. Think orbital bombardment with extra sass? They scrambled back up through the tunnel they'd fallen through, emerging just in time to see 3 black ships landing nearby. Prism sentry sigils gleamed on the hulls. Marcus hissed, pulling Nyra back behind a rock. Fantastic. We're being hunted by religious space librarians with good aim. Nyra clutched the echo key. What do? He peeked around the rock. We run like cowards, but noble cowards. Blaster fire exploded behind them as they sprinted for the ship. The dusty parrot began powering up, yelling at them in all caps from the speakers. They reached the ramp, Marcus catching a stun bolt in the left thigh, yelling something extremely unprintable in Glythorian. They launched into the sky, the planet shrinking behind them. Nyra sat panting in the copilot seat, blood singing in her ears. Marcus limped into the cockpit. So that went well. You got shot? Barely. I've had mosquito bites angrier than that. Are you always this reckless? Only when I like someone. She blinked. I mean like in a you're my space daughter kind of way. This isn't weird. Don't make it weird. Nyra laughed. Too late. He groaned and dropped into the pilot's chair. Fine, but only chosen ones get to do the dishes. She looked out the window. So what now? He set the new coordinates. We find the next vault, before the space librarians do. The ship jumped to warp. Behind them, the prism sentries activated a new signal. Across deep space, it was answered. Someone had found the second flame, and others were now watching. Marcus stood in the galley, holding a spoon in one hand and a smoking pot in the other. The spoon had bent itself into a vague spiral. The pot hissed like it was alive. I tried to make soup, he said. Nyra glanced at the pot. Did the soup try to make you back? It might have proposed. I said no. Things got complicated. She tapped the lid with the back of a spoon. It growled. That's going outside? Marcus muttered, carrying it toward the airlock. As he hit the purge button and the culinary abomination was ejected into the void, Nyra flicked through star maps in the co-pilot's seat. The second vault was on an ice planet in the spiral shards, an uncharted region where signals warped and ships vanished with poetic final messages like, oops. Are you sure you want to go into a region nicknamed the Blender of Space? Marcus asked. It's not actually a blender. Probably. The AI voice chimed in. Probability of spatial dismemberment, 37%. Probability of sarcasm increasing, 92%. Nyra smiled. At least it's honest. Marcus rubbed his temple. I'm getting too old for this. I used to run Spice Between Moons. Quiet, normal smuggling, nobody glowing, no galactic prophecies. Of course not. I like glowing orphans and death cults. Really spices up the week. When they reached the edge of the spiral shards, the stars began to twist unnaturally. Time hiccuped. The clock, it was yesterday. Marcus adjusted his goggles. Good news, we're still alive. Bad news, we might be in 4 dimensions at once. A translucent whale passed by the window. It waved, Nyra waved back. The ship shuddered, then dropped into a pocket of relative stability. Before them, a white wasteland stretched out, dotted with glowing ice pillars. The signal's strongest there, Nyra said, pointing toward a mountain of crystal spires that hummed with low-frequency vibrations. Marcus donned his thermojacket, which lit up in patterns that had absolutely no tactical use but looked very stylish. Let's go meet some ancient secrets. Maybe they serve cocoa. They landed in a shallow crevasse, wind howling past the hull. As they exited, the echo key began pulsing a deep blue. Nyra's breath steamed in the air. Marcus clutched a scanner. Temperatures somewhere between "don't touch that" and "your eyelashes are going on strike." They hiked toward the spires, passing through a series of tunnels made of crystal that refracted their reflections into thousands of warped echoes. Nyra paused at one point, touching a reflection that moved a beat late. "That's not us," she said. "No, it's definitely us. Just more artistic." A voice echoed from deeper in the spire. "Starborn. Entry confirmed." Marcus looked upward. "Why do all ancient vaults have such creepy doorbells?" The ice floor shifted, and they slid downward, again into a chamber lit by bioluminescent threads embedded in the walls. A floating orb appeared, surrounded by miniature constellations. "Vault 2 activated," the orb said. "Processing Starborn interface complete." Nyra approached. "What's here?" "Memory node, origin divergence. Playback commencing." A holographic display unfurled. The vision showed 2 great factions, one of order, cold precision, and hierarchy, the other of chaos, freedom, and intuition. Nyra's people had once mediated between them, but when the balance broke, they had split, scattered across the stars, encoded in dreams and DNA. Marcus watched as star systems crumbled in the vision. People really need to get better at sharing. The orb glowed brighter. "Starborn directive, reassemble the chorus, restore balance, reconnect the fragmented will." Nyra shook her head. "Why me? Because you remain. You resonate, and you are not alone." The orb flared, new coordinates appeared, then disintegrated into particles that embedded themselves into Nyra's palm. Marcus leaned back. "Neat. Permanent tattoo. Very galactic chic." The vault dimmed. The orb blinked once, then dissolved. Marcus glanced at her. "You okay?" Nyra looked at her hand. "I feel awake, like I've been dreaming for years and just realized it." They made their way back to the ship, which had gathered a thin layer of frost. A holographic sticky note blinked on the console. "You were gone for 3.2 hours. I almost left," Marcus grumbled. "You love us." "Statistically improbable," the AI replied. They launched back, but as they reached the outer boundary, the ship jolted. 3 vessels emerged from folded space, matte black and shaped like arrowheads. Marcus narrowed his eyes. "Prism sentries. They just can't take a hint." The ships hailed them. A face appeared, pale, stern, tattooed with golden lines. "Return the Starborn or be unmade." Marcus rolled his eyes. "Listen, can we do this somewhere less dramatic? Maybe over tea?" The figure didn't blink. Nyra stepped forward. "You won't stop me. You don't even understand what I am." "You are in error," the sentry said. "We are the correction." Marcus hit the thrusters. "Yeah? Well, this error has better aim." The dusty parrot veered, launched a spread of decoy drones shaped like ducks. For reasons Marcus refused to explain, and dove into a gravity rift. Chased through spirals of warped time and starlight, the ship twisted its way to safety with less than 4% hull damage, 2 melted coffee mugs, and a slightly traumatized toaster. When they were clear, Marcus sighed and slumped in his seat. "Just once, I'd like to go somewhere ancient without being shot at." Nyra leaned her head back. 2 vaults. How many more?" Marcus shook his head. "The vaults might not even be the hard part." She didn't reply. She was staring at the stars, her palm glowing softly. Far away, someone else's palm glowed in reply. The dusty parrot cruised toward the edge of the quarantine nebula, where space folded in on itself like a bad laundry job. Marcus tapped at the console, which refused to acknowledge his authority and played whale noises instead. Nyra sat beside him, arms crossed, watching the swirling mists beyond the glass. "I feel like something's about to happen," she said. Marcus glanced sideways. "That's because something is always about to happen with you. Ancient tech, creepy librarians, glowing hands. It's like traveling with a cosmic glitch. I resent that. I meant it as a compliment. Most people just snore and steal snacks. The coordinates from the last vault pulsed in the console. One final point, buried in the center of the nebula, where no ship dared go without writing a farewell poem first. Marcus had written 3, just in case. As they neared the coordinates, the mist parted, revealing a floating structure shaped like a cracked halo. Hundreds of shattered arches orbited it like debris dancing in formation. The chorus beacon, final vault, last mystery. Looks welcoming, Marcus said. All it's missing is a sign that says, "Abandon logic, all ye who enter." They docked at the outer ring. Gravity stabilized, barely. Lights flickered across the interior corridor. As they entered, the echo key glowed white, the brightest yet. Voices echoed around them, fragmented and layered. Starborn complete. Nyra took a breath. "Ready?" "No," Marcus said, "but that's never stopped me before." They stepped into the core chamber. It was silent except for a low resonance, like the universe humming a forgotten tune. A terminal rose from the floor. Nyra placed the echo key into it. A pulse of light spread out, holograms emerged, faces. Dozens. Hundreds. Beings like Nyra. Some looked like scholars, some like warriors, some like confused artists holding tools backward. The vault spoke. The fragments gather. Final interface required. A platform extended toward Nyra. Marcus held up a hand. "Wait, before you plug yourself into celestial hard drive, are we sure this won't fry your brain?" Nyra shrugged. "Not even a little?" "Cool. Very reassuring." She stepped forward. As she reached the center, light wrapped around her. The room filled with sound. A chorus, layered, distant and close at once. Marcus backed away slowly, pulling out his emergency snack bar like it might help. Visions surged across the walls. Nyra's memories, other memories, billions of lives woven into one. A tapestry of lost voices connecting like code. Nyra gasped, eyes wide as the memories flowed into her. Names, songs, stories, languages long buried. She felt it all. Every exile, every hope, every buried light. The beacon spoke. Final directive, awaken the chorus. Choose harmony or silence. Nyra blinked, trembling. "I can bring them back, just my people. I can bring all the voices together. Integration possible." Marcus whispered, "That sounds like either salvation or a galactic group chat." Nyra smiled. "I choose harmony." The chamber flared. Across the galaxy, pulses of energy raced outward, silent waves waking deep memory caches. On planets, moons, derelicts, others like Nyra stirred. Their hands glowed, they remembered. Even the Prism sentries felt it. Their ships shuddered. Their weapons fell silent. One by one, they began to hear the song. It wasn't a war cry. It was a welcome. Back on the dusty parrot, Nyra collapsed into the pilot's seat, eyes glassy but smiling. Marcus handed her water. That was either the beginning of a new era or the best light show I've ever been punched in the face by. "I think it worked," she whispered. The AI chimed in. "Incoming signals from multiple systems. Non-hostile, high emotional content. One contains a recipe for jam." Marcus blinked. "The galaxy's first step toward peace. Shared jam." Nyra laughed, soft and clear. "I don't feel alone anymore. You never were." She looked at him. "Thanks for feeding me," he grinned. "You're welcome. I expect royalties." They set course for a neutral sector where representatives of the newly awakened species were already gathering, calling themselves the Unified Chorus. Nyra, the bridge. Marcus, the translator. The dusty parrot, now upgraded with better seating and a coffee maker that didn't scream. At the first chorus summit, Nyra stood before thousands and told the story of her hunger, her rescue, her rise, and her decision to unite the past instead of ruling it. She ended with Markward in a formal jacket. He whispered, "How do I look?" "Like someone who bought that at a salvage market 5 minutes ago." Accurate. Peace wouldn't come easy, but the voices were awake now, and they were singing. Later, in the quiet of the ship, Marcus leaned back and closed his eyes. "I never thought adopting a lost kid would turn into this," he said. Nyra smiled from her seat. "Neither did I. I thought you were just a weird old man with terrible food." Still true, still thankful. The stars stretched out ahead of them, so did the work. But they were together, and the galaxy for the first time in a long time was listening. The end.